Let's begin standing at the front of your mat, mountain pose, arms to your sides. Taking a deep breath, inhale and exhale. Lifting those arms up overhead, reaching nice and tall. Palms together, exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, dive forward, forward fold. This is your first forward fold, so be nice and gentle on the backs of your legs here. Just inhale and exhale, feeling the release. Rolling all the way back up, mountain pose, arms up overhead, and diving forward again. Hands to the mat, half lift, and forward fold. Rolling all the way back up again, lifting those arms up overhead, and diving forward once again, forward fold. Half lift, forward fold. Trying to go a little bit deeper this time. Rolling all the way back up, arms lift up overhead, bending those elbows, arch your back slightly, looking up. Diving all the way forward, hands to the mat. Holding it here, half lift, forward fold. You can reach for the backs of those ankles if that feels good, or the backs of those calves. Hands to the mat, stepping both legs back into plank position. Forward Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog, and pressing your hips back into downward facing dog, stretching through the tops of your feet here for a moment. Releasing those toes, pressing down through your heels. Back to plank and downward facing dog. Plank, downward facing dog, warming up through the core, through your shoulders here. Downward facing dog, plank, and downward facing dog. Coming back to your plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog, keeping the front of those thighs off the mat, press back, downward facing dog. Lifting your right leg, reach it high, single leg dog, holding it here, reach those toes long. Bending that right knee, bring it to your chest and step through your hands. Turning that back foot out into warrior one, cartwheeling those arms up, lifting through the crown of your head, reach back, reverse warrior. Reaching that left arm down long along the left leg, right arm reaches up and over slightly. If you would like to, you can take that left arm behind you, reaching for the front of that right thigh. Or you can leave it extended long down the left leg. Bringing it forward now, reaching the right arm to the mat, left arm extending long, stacking those shoulders one over the other. Extend that right arm, this time overhead, reaching towards the front of your mat. Feeling a nice stretch in the side of your body. Straightening that right knee, coming into your triangle pose. Both arms are nice and long. Shoulders and hips are in alignment. Holding it here. Bending that right knee, lift back up, warrior one. Turning that back foot, coming into your high lunge. Lifting both arms up nice and high. Bringing your hands to your heart in prayer, shifting your weight forward on that right foot, lifting your knee up towards your chest. We're going to prepare for eagle pose, crossing that left knee over right and hooking your left toes behind your right calf. Sitting your hips back slightly, keeping those hands at your chest. Breathe. Inhale and exhale, bringing that left knee back to your chest and come back to mountain pose. Arms overhead, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift, forward fold. Hopping back into plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog. Pressing those hips back, downward facing dog. Bending your knees and hopping forward between those hands. Half lift, forward fold. And roll it all the way up, arms overhead. Diving back forward. Half lift, forward fold. And jumping back into plank. Shifting forward, Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. That left leg reaches up high. Single leg dog. Holding it here for a moment. Pressing that right heel down towards the mat. Bending your left knee. Bring your knee to your chest and step through your hands. Turning that back foot out, cartwheel those arms up into Warrior One. Holding it here. And reaching back, reverse warrior. Left arm's extended long overhead, right arm is reaching down the side of that right leg. Or you can take that arm behind your back, reaching for the thigh of your left leg. Whatever feels best for you. If that arm's behind you, go ahead and release it, extending those arms, left arm to the mat, right arm reaches up towards the ceiling, nice and long, and extend it over to the front of your mat. Feeling that nice stretch all through that right side. And extending that left knee, coming into your triangle position. Looking up towards those right fingertips. Take a deep breath, inhale. Exhale, bending that left knee and lift up. Turning that right foot parallel, high lunge. Arms lifted overhead. Bringing those hands in prayer position to your heart. Sinking a little lower if you can, reaching back up. Holding it, palms to heart. Stepping all the way through, this time lift that right knee up to your chest. Crossing your right knee over the left and hooking those right toes behind the left. Sinking those hips down. If you can't hook your toes, that's okay, just stay with your knees crossed. Keeping your palms together at your heart. And bringing that right knee back to your chest, arms overhead, and release down. Inhale all the way up, bending those elbows, arching your back slightly, and dive it forward. Half lift, forward fold. Hopping back to plank. Holding your plank for a moment. Pressing back, downward facing dog. Lifting that right leg back up again. Pressing forward into a single leg plank and single leg downward facing dog. Again, we're doing this 4 times. Plank, keep it lifted, and single leg downward facing dog. Bending that right knee, bring it to your chest and step through your hands. Holding it. Dropping that left knee down, release your toes. Hands to the top of that right knee. Pressing through your right hip. Getting a nice stretch in the psoas here. Hands to the mat. Lifting those left toes underneath you. Stretch that left leg long and reach those arms back up. High lunge. Palms to your heart. Twisting that left elbow to your right knee. If you'd like to take a bind, go ahead and reach that right arm behind you. Left arm underneath, clasping your fingertips underneath. Making sure that you don't twist that left foot. Keeping it right on your toes, keeping that heel pressing straight back. Holding here. Release the bind, palms back. In prayer, untwist the body and lift up. Palms to your mat, step back plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up, single leg plank, single leg downward facing dog. Again, and lift. 2 more times, and lift. Last one, lift up. Holding it, bending that left knee, bring it into your chest and step through your hands. Holding it here for a moment, dropping that right knee, release the toes, hands to the top of that left thigh, pressing those hips forward. It's so important to stretch the psoas muscle. Hands back to the mat, tucking those right toes and lift up. High lunge. Reach those arms, palms to your heart, right elbow to that left knee, rotating. If you would like to take your bind, go ahead and extend that left arm long behind you, right arm reaches underneath, clasping your fingertips. You can look down over that right shoulder or up towards the sky. Do whatever feels best for you here. If a bind is not within your practice, then just keep with your arms long or in prayer position. Releasing your bind if you're there, pressing those palms back together, untwist the body, and extend up. Palms to your mat, plank position, pressing down, downward facing dog, and plank. Downward facing dog, plank, 2 more times, press, and plank, press, and plank. Holding it here, shifting your weight forward and back, coming onto those toes and press back. This is so great for your core here. And back, forward, Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Try to get a little deeper here. Looking forward, bending your knees, hop all the way through, crossing your legs. Sitting back towards the center of your mat, you're going to slowly roll all the way down to your mat, arms overhead, extending those legs long, hips width apart. Enjoy this nice stretch through your core, through your shoulders, just releasing everything. Drawing your knees to your chest, lifting the upper body up slightly, releasing back down, keeping your knees pulled in, extending long. Release those hands down, dropping those legs ever so slightly and lifting all the way up overhead. You can bring your hands to your lower back here for a little additional support. trying to reach those toes all the way up and dropping them over top of your head. Holding it here. Listen to your body here. You can drop those knees down to the mat on either side. If this does not feel good for you or your lower back, then just stay with your legs extended along the mat, reaching the arms above the head. Bringing those legs back up, reaching nice and tall, supporting that lower back. And back overhead. Slowly rolling it down, control it here. Bringing your knees back in, give them a little hug. Extending them long, lift all the way back up. Hands to your lower back. This time, bending that left knee and trying to reach all the way down to your mat. Keeping your lower back supported with those hands. Don't let those hips drop. Right leg extends long. Bringing that left leg back up. Reposition your hands if you need to. And we're switching sides. Right knee bends. Bringing it all the way down to the floor. And hold. If this is not within your practice, just hold with those legs nice and long, reaching up to the ceiling. Bringing it back up, lifting, holding it here for a moment, bending your knees, and dropping them to either side of your head once again. Release those hands from your back if you would like, clasping those fingers together, extending long. Holding it here and release those hands, slow and controlled, bringing it all the way down, back to your mat. Hugging your knees to your chest once again, extending your legs long, bringing them forward, giving the backs of those legs a little stretch, release through your lower back. Bringing your knees back in and release down, extending long, hips width apart with those feet. Giving yourself a moment. Think about everything relaxing into the mat. Take a deep breath and exhale, feeling everything become heavy. Release your shoulders, releasing through your core, your lower back, feeling those hips becoming heavy, sinking down to your mat. Release through those kneecaps, release through the toes, feeling as though you're sinking right into your mat. Holding here. Enjoying this moment. You can stay here for as long as you would like, taking deep breaths, continuing to focus on relaxing every part of your body. You can begin by moving those fingers and those toes if you need to come out of this. Bending those knees in, extending that left arm long, and bringing yourself all the way up to seated position. Hands to the tops of those knees.